Welcome back. New this morning, Taiwan is set to hold 5 days of combat readiness drills, shifting its military training strategy to reflect exercises simulating war. Taiwan already basing some drills on a scenario in which China suddenly turns one of its regular military exercises into an actual attack. China's Navy recently increasing pressure around the island, routinely operating in controversial areas surrounding Taiwan to pressure Taiwan into accepting Chinese sovereignty. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. It looks like Taiwan is preparing for something. What's your take?
Well, good morning, Maria. Yes, Taiwan is prepared for war. We see these 5-day drills with tanks in the streets around the country's main airport. But also they need civil defense training of the population. And they need to consider something which is now inconceivable in Taiwan, and that is arming citizens. Because the one thing the Chinese military is not prepared for is guerrilla warfare, and that can be deadly, as we found out in places like Fallujah. So yes, Taiwan is moving in the right direction, but they need to move faster because China's drills are becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah, but do you think that China is looking for guerrilla warfare, or will they just go in quietly the way they went into Hong Kong and just start throwing freedom fighters in jail, the way they did to Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong?
Well, they'd like to do that, but the Taiwanese population self-identifies as Taiwanese, not as Chinese. And we see this from surveys year after year after year. And there's a growing sense of Taiwan identity. And China's pressure tactics are sometimes and often counterproductive. So Beijing has lost the cue card when it's really thinking about influencing Taiwan's population. Yes, it's got a bigger military. Yes, these exercises around Taiwan are becoming really dangerous. And the other thing, Maria, about this is that China is now saying that international water around Taiwan is China's coastal water. In other words, sovereign Chinese water. And that affects us because if we've had any consistent foreign policy over the course of 250 years, it's been the defense of international water and airspace. So this is now starting to affect us and everybody else as well, not just Taiwan.
Let's switch gears and talk about what Tulsi Gabbard released, because the outgoing director of national intelligence released a new wave of files which detailed Dr. Anthony Fauci's role in the COVID pandemic. Tulsi Gabbard releasing damning declassified evidence accusing Fauci of causing the COVID-19 pandemic, engaging in a cover-up about the virus origins in China, and then lying to Congress about it. The documents show he met with CIA officials weeks after denying he funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Of course, the epicenter of the pandemic, Gordon. I spoke yesterday with Brad Wenstrup. He was the chairman of the subcommittee on COVID, and here's what he said. Watch.
We basically went from trying to save lives to origins of COVID, to origins of the cover-up, not only within China, but within our own government. Dr. Fauci was for gain-of-function research as far back as 2012, and he said that the benefits outweigh the risk of it creating a pandemic if it got out of the lab. Along comes EcoHealth Alliance, and they want to do the very research that could create a virus like COVID-19. They go over to the Department of Defense, and they're turned down, but they go over to Dr. Fauci at NIH, and he signs for this grant. In his transcribed interview, he said he doesn't know what's in the grants. He just signs them. And when we got the report from the IC about the 90-day commission that President Biden put out on what each community felt the origins were, it was extremely weak. And when I asked who they talked to, I was told it's our policy not to tell you. Dr. Fauci put together a team that were driven by him to say that this came from nature. We're saying this thing looks engineered. There's a lot out there now. There's a lot more to come. And it didn't surprise me.
Gordon, your reaction?
Well, certainly, Dr. Fauci, what he tried to do was to get around President Obama's 2014 federal moratorium on funding of gain-of-function research on American soil. And a lot of what Fauci did was completely indefensible. But the question is, did he commit a crime? Well, we do know one thing, Maria, and that is twice in 2021, Fauci lied to a Senate committee in response to questions from Senator Rand Paul, where he said, as we just heard, that he did not fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, unfortunately for Fauci, there are two published scientific papers from 2016 and 2017 from researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology clearly describing gain-of-function research, and both of those papers in footnotes acknowledge funding from Dr. Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So clearly the Chinese knew they were getting money from Fauci. Fauci lied. And unfortunately, the Department of Justice allowed the statute of limitations to pass on that testimony. But the statute might still be open until July 10th because Fauci was providing documents to the Senate. And depending what were in those documents and what was said, maybe that also constituted perjury. But clearly, this was wrong to let Fauci go on what was an open and shut case of perjury.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if, in fact, his pardon is still legitimate, because remember when Joe Biden pardoned Anthony Fauci, it was the morning of President Trump taking the oath of office for the second time. It was on January 20th. It was, I remember looking at my phone saying, wow, they're pardoning Fauci now, right before President Trump takes the oath. It was quite odd. Now, Brad Wenstrup told me he thinks it was an accident. COVID leaked from the lab. It was an accident. And then the CCP covered it up. But there's also a thought process out there that they were, cooking these things up, and it was a fishing expedition. I don't know how you see COVID, Gordon, in terms of whether or not it was a bioweapon. What do you think?
Well, certainly it was a bioweapon. And the thing is, yes, the release from the lab was probably accidental. But the issue here is what happened when this disease got out into the Chinese public. Xi Jinping took two decisions, and they meant, when you put them together, that he deliberately spread this disease beyond China's borders. First of all, they lied for at least 5 weeks and probably longer about the transmissibility of this disease. And it was not just lying to the World Health Organization. They were lying to, for instance, the CDC. And the other thing is they did was when they were locking down their country, which showed that they felt that that was an effective way to stop disease, they were pressuring other countries, including the United States, to take arrivals from China without restrictions. You put those two things together, especially the lying, and it's clear that China deliberately spread this disease. That's 7 million people outside of China dying from COVID, including 1.2 million Americans.
Wow, unbelievable. And you wonder if those numbers would have been different had somebody been honest in terms of what the U.S. was doing in terms of funding this gain-of-function research, rather than, as Tulsi Gabbard says, lying to Congress. The CCP, meanwhile, is apparently flooding the zone with a growing network of spies in America and across the world, trying to gain political and economic advantage for the West. A majority of those spies have been caught in recent weeks across the United States, in South Korea, and in Europe, as Beijing expands intelligence operations also in Cuba, investing in electronic eavesdropping equipment to spy on American military sites in Florida. Gordon, your thoughts here?
We know that the Chinese have at least 4 listening posts in Cuba, and they've been talking to the Cuban authorities about establishing a formal military base. So I don't think that that's going to happen, especially now. But clearly the Chinese have been listening on us, and they've taken over the Lourdes facility, which during the Cold War was the Soviet Union's biggest listening post outside of Soviet territory. So yes, the Chinese are spying. We know what they've been doing, and this is on us, Maria, because we know that Director Radcliffe, talked to you about Chinese spying, $500 billion a year, and we need to impose costs on China that are at least as that great to stop them from doing this. Yeah. So this is our country. We don't have to put up with this. This is now on us.
Yeah. All right. We'll be watching all of that, Gordon. Good to see you this morning. Thank you so much. Gordon Chang on China. We'll be right back.